And have a chance to talk with another member of the reunion, Bill Anderson. Bill, good to see you. How's the reunion been for you?
It's been great. This is fantastic. A great bunch of guys.
Well, it's so good to see you and everyone here at this event. Tell us a bit, first off, where are you from? What's been your occupation after the military?
Well, I live in a small town in North Dakota, Rutland, North Dakota, and I grew up in that town, graduated from high school there, went to college at the University of North Dakota, started law school at the University of Colorado, got interrupted by the Vietnam War, and went into Marine Corps OCS, served in the Marines, went to Vietnam. After the Corps, I took over an insurance agency that had been in our family I was the third generation. Then in 1985, I went back to law school, got my law degree, and I practiced law until 2016 when I retired.
Well, very good. Very good. Now tell us a little bit about being a Marine Corps officer and leading troops, taking them to Vietnam. What was the experience of being a Marine Corps officer like for you?
Well, I was a second lieutenant, of course, when I got to Vietnam, and limited experience. I was very fortunate to have some terrific examples. Barney Lenahan, our company commander, was a great leader and a terrific example for a young second lieutenant coming into Vietnam. The Marines that I had in my platoon, I was the second platoon commander, were phenomenal. It's hard to describe the responsibility that you feel when you're a lieutenant and you are commanding these young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, who give you instantaneous response and obedience to your commands. It's just they were phenomenal. These young Marines, they were great, and in many cases they didn't need a lot of leadership. They had it in themselves. But there were occasions when there were decisions that had to be made. They made it easier for me to make those decisions because I knew that they would do what needed to be done and would carry out our mission and accomplish it no matter what, whether I was there or not. So they were. It was a tremendous, just a tremendous experience. I don't know if there's any way to describe it. I read a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes just the other day. It was the first time I'd ever read this, but he was a Civil War veteran and said it probably 100 years ago, that we have shared the incommunicable experience of war. In our youth, our hearts were touched by fire. And that's, I think that describes it. There's no way to communicate what it's like to be in war and to lead warriors of this quality in battle. It is an incommunicable experience, but it is something that it shapes you and shapes the way you think and shapes who you are and what you are for the rest of your life, and hopefully you can transmit at least part of that to those who come after us. So I think it was the most significant experience in my life. The other officers I served with, Joe Henry, George McMahon, Bill Downs, they were terrific. They were terrific too. And the other thing I can't say enough about is about the Navy corpsmen who served with us. Paul Buzz Baviello was the corpsman in my platoon when I took over the platoon. These men just exemplified the best that America has to offer. I never ever heard of, or certainly never witnessed, an occasion when the call "corpsman up" came that the corpsman was not up and running to answer it. Yeah, they were phenomenal, and I think that these Marines and the Navy corpsmen who serve with them are an example of the best of America, the best that America has to offer, and our country should always be proud of them and grateful for what they do.
Bill, do you have any, having come back from Vietnam nearly 50 years ago and went into law, do you have any advice for the current veterans coming back from combat in places like in Iraq and Afghanistan, having difficulty with PTSD? Is there something you learned from your experience that you can pass on?
I think that the best thing they can do, the best thing that happened to me, was to get back in contact with these men. It took me 40 years to do it, but that was a tremendous help to me in dealing with the memories and the effects of Vietnam, and I would advise them to stay in contact with their comrades as much as they can, and to join other veterans organizations such as the VFW, the DAV, the American Legion, and other groups like that, to where you can talk to people who have experienced something similar to what you've experienced. It's tremendous help, at least to me.
Well, so good to see you here. What's been the best part of being at this reunion for you with your military members, Marines, corpsmen from 50 years ago?
Well, as always, of course, it's the stories, the reminiscences, the renewal of old friendships, and every year there's a new story that comes out from somebody who experienced the same thing that you did, was there at the same time, in the same place, but saw it from a different perspective. And I think that's always valuable, particularly for an attorney, to understand that just because you were all there and you all saw it doesn't mean you all saw the same thing. And it's enlightening, and sometimes it really helps you understand what happened when you hear others who were there describe how they saw it, how they felt, how they experienced it.
Well, Bill Anderson, really on behalf of everyone at the American Legion, all of us at the Sons of the American Legion, all 350,000 of us, thank you for your service to our country. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Semper Fi.
Okay, good to see you, sir. Pleasure.